I cannot believe I'm saying this, but is Daniel Jones the best quarterback in the NFL right now? No, seriously. And I don't mean this in terms of hyperbole, overprojection, or anything like that. But is Daniel Jones playing quarterback better than any quarterback currently in the NFL right now? I think the answer is yes. He actually is. Over the first 3 weeks, Daniel Jones has been the best quarterback in the league. It's crazy to say. I would rank him slightly ahead of Josh Allen, slightly ahead of Lamar Jackson, even though he hasn't played tonight on Monday night, slightly ahead of even Patrick Mahomes, who I know the Chiefs are only 1-2, but he's also like third or fourth in the league in QBR. Daniel Jones, seems to be playing quarterback better than anybody in the league and is leading the Colts to a 3-0 record so far. And they're actually being led by their offense. They have a solid defense, but it's their offense. 33 points against the Dolphins, 29 points against the Broncos, and then 41 points against the Tennessee Titans. And it's Daniel Jones. No interceptions so far throughout the first 3 weeks. 3 touchdowns through the air and then 3 more on the ground. Has had over 110 QBR in 2 games. Is leading the league in QBR. 110 passer rating, is leading the league in QBR. And he just hasn't made many mistakes. What's his completion percentage? Over 71% of his passes are completed. And he's just playing smart, efficient football. Shane Steichen has been playing very well, and I am very excited for Daniel Jones, given what happened to him in New York. Look, I 1000% agree that the Giants made a horrendous decision by deciding to pay Daniel Jones as opposed to paying Saquon Barkley. You can find other Daniel Joneses. You won't find another Saquon Barkley. That's very, very rare air. And then he goes to probably your fiercest rival and wins them a Super Bowl. Giants organization, you are probably the number one reason why the Eagles won the Super Bowl last year. Give credit to Howie Roseman and Jalen Hurts and everybody else, but it's the Giants organization saying we value a mid-level, slightly below mid-level quarterback so much we're going to give him over $40 million a year and then not pay our superstar, generational, once-in-a-lifetime kind of running back who you drafted second overall. You drafted a running back second overall for a reason. Usually they don't go that high because that's how much you believe in him. And you didn't pay him, but you paid Daniel Jones? Lunacy by the New York Giants. And I agree that Daniel Jones did not play well enough in New York to warrant that contract. Even though he did win them a playoff game, Daniel Jones did not deserve that contract, if we're being honest. So he gets ostracized by New York. He leaves. Understandable. He goes to the Vikings for a little bit. And then he comes to Indianapolis. And miraculously, after the Colts took a leap of faith and drafted Anthony Richardson with the 4th overall pick. Anthony Richardson, by the way, is a guy who only played 1 season in college, really, who had barely any starts in high school and college, hadn't played a lot of football, but you fell in love with the traits, the tangible traits. He fell in love with, the big-time arms, 6'4", 244, can run a 4.4, can jump out the gym, can leap like crazy. He has all the physical attributes, and sure, he clearly is a great athlete. But that is not the number one thing you look for with quarterback, given the fact that the greatest quarterback who ever played, Tom Brady, is probably the least athletic guy and was the least athletic guy on the football field in almost every single game that he played. And he's the best quarterback and you could argue the greatest football player ever. So that clearly was a mistake by the Colts to try to take Anthony Richardson. And it's not just the way that Anthony Richardson was playing on the field. It was his issues off the field. It was the fact that I know it's on the field, but he tapped out of a game once. As a quarterback, you don't do that. You don't tap out of the game because guess what? You are the central focus of every single play we run on offense. Without you in the game, our offensive sheet goes to hell. You cannot possibly do that. And then we saw in the preseason, Anthony Richardson gets blown up on a blitz that comes right into his face, dislocates his pinky finger, and bro, this is one of the things with the NFL, and I think this is one of the reasons why people love football so much more than they love basketball, for instance, at least in this country. If you make a mistake, a mental critical error like that, you physically pay the price for it. You will get lit up, and that's exactly what happened to Anthony Richardson. You have to see that. It's year 3, bro. You can't do that. So after all that happens with Anthony Richardson off the field and his lack of production on the field, Daniel Jones comes in, who we thought was going to be Anthony Richardson's backup, and he wins the job. He surprisingly wins the job. And we're thinking this is a fatal mistake by the Colts because you realize what this is going to do to Anthony Richardson's confidence. You've essentially killed him in terms of his confidence because one thing with quarterback is we know it's so much about confidence. But Daniel Jones comes in, another franchise believes in him, wants to hug around him and saying, you are a guy moving forward. Maybe he didn't feel that in New York. He always felt the rumblings that you could get your job taken away any day. It's New York. The media market there is just crazy. And I think he's responding incredibly well to it. He loves the fact that the Giants want him and they want the absolute best for him. Sorry, not the Giants, the Colts. The Giants didn't want that. The Colts want him and they want him to be there. And he's playing incredibly well. He has the weapons in order to do it. He has an Adonai Mitchell. He has a Michael Pittman. He has a Jonathan Taylor coming out of the backfield, which just, let's not forget, just 4 years ago, he was the best running back in the league. He has those traits, and he is playing very well as a result. This is a Colts team that I think is the clear favorite, in my opinion now, to win the AFC South. We thought it was the Texans going into the season, but the Texans are 0-3 and they have no offensive line. And even if they have no offensive line, CJ Stroud doesn't seem to be playing at the level that we think he can play at. You know, the Jaguars, oh my God. Even though the Jaguars are 2-1, they've been so bad, and I'm very upset at them, and I'm very upset at Trevor Lawrence and the way they've played overall. But Daniel Jones, Indiana Jones, I think has sparked this new level of confidence in the Colts in Indianapolis, and I think they're the favorites to win their division. Will they make a deep playoff run? Will they even win a playoff game? I don't know because the AFC is always loaded. Bills and Ravens, and we believe that the Chiefs will still end up in the playoffs and maybe win their division. The Chargers look like they're definitely going to be in it. So will they even win a game if one of those teams doesn't win their division? Probably not. But if they can be division champions and make the playoffs after a season when they didn't even know who their starting quarterback was going to be, that'll be fantastic for the Colts. And that'll be great for Daniel Jones because maybe it's not in Indy, but if it's somewhere else, Daniel Jones continues playing like 80%. Not even at this level because this probably isn't sustainable, but if he plays at 80% of how he's playing right now, Daniel Jones, I believe, will go somewhere else and land himself another big contract. This is after signing for 4 years, 160. I don't know what the dead money situation is or guaranteed money situation is and how that works, for instance, but another team could potentially say, hey, we think you should be our starter moving forward. Or do the Colts themselves say, Anthony Richardson, you're gone. He becomes some other team's backup, and then Daniel Jones becomes the long-term starter in Indianapolis. That's very possible. And I think that's probably more likely because I think they're done with Anthony Richardson. So, major credit and respect to Daniel Jones. I love seeing this happen with quarterbacks. You leave a situation, you leave a team, and all of a sudden you start playing so much better somewhere else. That's great to see. And I think this Colts team will win their division, and they look to be dangerous for the rest of the season.